A Less Than Royal Narcissist, Part 26. Does Meghan Markle want to destroy Prince Harry? As has been established through considerable evidence, Meghan Markle is a mid-range narcissist. I leave it for you, as part of the exercise of understanding my work and applying it, to ascertain where she falls within the mid-range narcissist spectrum. Is she lower mid-range? An amalgam of the lesser narcissist and the mid-range narcissist, one that operates with an intermittent facade. Is she a middle range type A narcissist? One that appears to care, professes to be an overwhelming angel, believes that they are empathic, helpful, kind, thoughtful, doing the right thing. Or is she middle range type B, the perpetual complainant, the epitome of victimhood? The world is against me, the universe has cursed me, turning on the waterworks. Or upper mid-range, as close to greater as one can get without being one, operating a facade of superiority, haughty, dismissive, arrogant, yet polished, charismatic, popular, operating through instinct but also with instinctive planning. Where might she lie? If you continue to listen to my work, you will be able to apply the various characteristics to ascertain where she falls within that. As you know from my work, the narcissist seeks the prime aims, fuel and control, character traits, and residual benefits, and seeks those things, either all of them or some of them, from everybody that the narcissist interacts with. The person who has the misfortune to become the intimate partner primary source of the narcissist, i.e. Prince Harry, is the individual who has been identified by the narcissist either unconsciously where an unaware narcissist or consciously where an aware narcissist to be the best provider of the prime aims. Hence, the narcissist wraps those tendrils around that individual, ensnares them, and makes them boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, partner, cohab, etc. Meghan Markle has ensnared Prince Harry, and as I've explained, we've gone beyond the seduction, and he is in now the period of sustained devaluation, where not only do we see the behaviours meted out in public, but doubtless, because he is involved with a narcissist and is experiencing sustained devaluation, privately he may well suffer particular manipulations such as silent treatments, pity plays, the use of guilt, circular conversations, word salad, smearing, triangulation, provocation, insult, maybe even physical violence. It all depends, of course, upon the situation and the sub-school that is being dealt with. But there is no doubt that he is in the sustained devaluation. I've explained in part 20 what the future might hold with regard to the dynamic between the two, but is it that Meghan Markle is setting out to destroy Prince Harry? Is that what she wants? Does she want to, quite literally, break him, bring him to his knees, and then toss him to one side as he's of no further use to her? Is she intending to cause him to be destroyed? Is she looking to take all of his money, reduce his capability to make his own decisions, strip him of his self-worth and self-esteem, grind him into the dust until, having squeezed every drop of usefulness from him, this causes a disengagement trigger? Is that the intention of her? To understand whether this is her stated intention, it's worth understanding the principles that apply to the question of, does the narcissist intend to destroy you or anybody else? And to take you through the various permutations dependent upon the type of narcissist and the place that the victim holds in the fuel matrix of that narcissist. This will give you greater understanding not only with regard to your own circumstances, should you currently be ensnared, or if you might become ensnared in the future, or to give you understanding about what happened if you have escaped an ensnarement. You will also be able to apply this information to the ongoing dynamic between Meghan Markle and Prince Harry to enable you to obtain greater insight and understanding. So, I will now take you through the principles appertaining to whether a narcissist intends to destroy an individual, whether they want that to happen, so that you can increase your understanding. What is it that all narcissists want? Answer: the prime aims, of course. The prime aims are fuel and control, character traits, and residual benefits. Those four things are what every narcissist wants. The greaters and the ultra know this. Lesser and mid-range do not. All of our behaviours, who we choose, how we manipulate, is geared towards the attainment of those four items, and fuel and control are the most important aspects of that. Accordingly, when you consider the question, does the narcissist want to destroy you, it is important to put it against that context of what is it that the narcissist wants. If we destroy you, how can you provide us with fuel? If we destroy you, how can you provide us with character traits? If we destroy you, how can you provide us with residual benefits? Yes, if you're destroyed, we have controlled you. But then we are denied the fuel, we are denied the character traits, and we are denied the residual benefits. And therefore, your destruction is actually contrary to the needs of the narcissist. Remember, the most important person to the narcissist is the intimate partner primary source. You're the primary source because you are the individual which caters to those four aspects of the prime aims better than anybody else. That is why we made you the primary source. That is why you were love-bombed. That is why you're devalued. That is why we keep you under control. Nearly all narcissists have primary sources, and given that the vast majority of narcissists are lesser and mid-range, they will invariably have one, and if they don't, it's only for a short period of time. That is because lesser narcissists are lazy, and mid-rangers want the minimum of effort. They want to be able to get the prime aims easily, readily, and in one place. Take, for instance, your weekly food shopping. You might go to a range of independent shops: the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the greengrocer, a bookstore, an off-license, if any still exist, or a liquor store to others. And you could go to a variety of independent stores, a particular one selling cheese, one that's selling fruit and veg, and so forth. Or you could go to one supermarket and get everything under one roof. And invariably, most people do that, with occasional shopping elsewhere. Why? It's convenient, often cost-effective, and an appropriate use of your time. The narcissist is no different. In order to get those prime aims, the narcissist wants to put nearly all the eggs in one basket and get them from one person, the primary source. A lesser narcissist, 90% of the prime aims comes from one person, around 80 to 90%. Mid-rangers, between 70 to 90%. With graters and ultra, it can be 40 to 50%. But that doesn't matter as much to them, because the greater and the ultra have much wider fuel matrices and are able to obtain the prime aims from a wide range of secondary sources, both intimate and non-intimate, with ease. Accordingly, if a lesser narcissist destroys his primary source, he's just destroyed 90% of the prime aims. And remember, narcissism is a self-defense mechanism. It exists for the purposes of achieving those prime aims, not preventing them being obtained. And because the lesser narcissist obtains 80 to 90% of the prime aims from that one particular appliance, it is contrary to the best interests of that lesser narcissist to then destroy that individual. And on most occasions, the narcissism will not allow that to happen. Accordingly, the narcissist doesn't want to destroy you. Why? Because the narcissism is not designed for that to happen. You are to be preserved. Yes, you'll be devalued. Yes, you'll be punished. Yes, you'll be treated badly. But that doesn't equate to destruction. The narcissism wants the prime aims to be achieved, and that means keeping you functioning. Yes, you'll be ground down eventually, and it is at that point you might escape, or more usually you're disengaged from. But you're not destroyed. You're not utterly broken. The narcissist disengages from you. There is no problem for the narcissist should you start to become ground down, because they will just move to a replacement, but you're still not destroyed. Because the narcissist at a later date is likely to hoover you, and therefore the preservation of you rather than the destruction of you again serves the narcissist's later interests. It is better, in effect, to keep you going. Yes, we will mete out horrendous treatment towards you, and in some instances put you in a position where you are beaten down, worn out, but still not yet destroyed. There is no conscious or unconscious decision to pursue you, to grind you into the dust. That is contrary to the acquisition of the prime aims. Why is it that you think that the narcissist wants to destroy you? There's a combination of reasons. The first, misinformation. Too often, across the internet, people who don't understand narcissism talk about how the narcissist wants you dead, wants to destroy you, wants to crush you. Wrong. Those people don't know what they're talking about, and therefore they ought not to be listened to. 2. There are some instances where destruction occurs, and I will come to that in a moment, but they are in the minority. And the difficulty is that sometimes you will hear about, or you might have experienced it yourself, that destruction has occurred. But remember, those are just small examples as compared to the many, many other ones you won't have heard about. Think about it in the context of murder. Murder makes the news. Why? Because it's comparatively rare. And so, for instance, let us say in the United Kingdom in any 1 year, 850 people have been murdered. Do you know how many have not? Approximately 66,999,120, 150 rather, have not been murdered. Put it in that context, the number of people who are murdered is extremely small. And therefore, the number of people that are actually destroyed by narcissists, although it can happen and is not usually intended, it is such a small proportion of the overall number of victims of the narcissist that aren't destroyed. But unfortunately, people don't look at it in context. They see the few examples where it has happened and think that's the norm. It is not. Take it from me. The number of individuals that I have interacted with who are victims of my kind, that I know about in terms of the ones that I have dealt with and experiences that I have witnessed in real life and through my various consultations, the proportion of people that have actually been destroyed by narcissists is very, very small indeed. And that gives a sense of perspective with regard to the number that are actually affected. And you need to keep that in mind. The third reason why people think that the narcissist wants to destroy them is emotional thinking. It generates fear, and quite understandably, when you're in the middle of the maelstrom, when you are being beaten up, when you're being pursued, when your property's being stolen and destroyed, When you're in the middle of that devaluation, it can feel like the narcissist wants to destroy you, but it's not actually the case. And your response and reaction to that is entirely honest and understandable, but it is still incorrect nevertheless. It feels like the narcissist wants to destroy you, but that actually isn't what's happening. Accordingly, narcissism is a self-defense mechanism, and it wants to preserve the assets, which are the appliances, of the narcissist so they can be repeatedly used for the pursuit of the prime aims. Therefore, the destruction of those assets runs contrary to the purpose of the narcissism. Therefore, in most cases, it doesn't happen. The belief that the narcissist wants to destroy you originates from people who don't understand narcissism, the misrepresentation out of context of the few instances where it does happen as being perceived as the norm, and thirdly, the presence of emotional thinking, which skews your perspective to believe that that's what the narcissist wants when actually it isn't. Now, given that most of the time the narcissist does not want to destroy you, what about the limited number of occasions where that does come about? Because occasionally it does. This falls into two categories. The first is collateral consequence. The second, intent. In some instances, destruction comes about because essentially the narcissism wasn't calibrated properly and caused the narcissist to act in a way that they bring about the destruction of the relevant appliance, whether it's actually killing somebody or causing them to break down to an extent that they're no longer functioning. That, of course, asserts control, but it means that the cessation of fuel, cessation of character traits and residual benefits, and that isn't actually in the interests of the narcissist. And where that happens, basically, the narcissism has gone too far and has caused the narcissism to bring about that destruction. Obviously, that is very difficult circumstances for the victim. And moreover, it actually runs contrary to the interests of the narcissist, and their narcissism has misfired. The narcissism did not intend for that destruction to occur, but it did, and it has misfired. So when destruction occurs with regard to lesser and mid-range narcissists, that is because the narcissism caused the destruction, but it ought not to have done. It might have been that it's misgauged the situation, the robustness or otherwise of the victim, or that there's been such a loss of control that has brought about the destruction. But it was never intended. It was a collateral consequence of the attempts to assert control, and it brought about the destruction when it ought not to have done. The second instance, and this is extremely rare, is where it is intended. And this is the premise of the greater or the ultra. The greater or the ultra can bring about your destruction. Ordinarily, they will not do so because we still recognise that you're much more valuable to us functioning and operational than you are being completely destroyed. Nevertheless, where your treachery is so great, and because as the greater and ultra we have access to plenty of other appliances far more readily than the lesser and mid-ranger. Remember, the narcissism of the lesser and mid-ranger has to preserve the relevant appliances, particularly the primary source, because they are so valuable, and they are not as effective as going and getting one immediately to replace one if it were destroyed. So therefore, their narcissism functions to keep that individual in play. If they could destroy someone and go and get another primary source at the drop of a hat, then the situation would be different. But they don't. They might cultivate one, and then they'll disengage, and then replace them with that cultivated individual who becomes the new primary source. But in most instances, for lesser and mid-range, the narcissism doesn't want to bring about the destruction because they can't replace the individual straight away were that to happen. And also, the lesser and mid-range might not actually be capable of bringing about the destruction of the victim also. With a wider range of options and a greater ability to draw replacement appliances to them, and with vast access to resource to bring about the destruction of the victim, the ones that intend it are greater and the ultra. We can cause it, and it does happen, but it still remains extremely rare. Accordingly, for the most part, the narcissist does not intend your destruction. The narcissism wants to keep you in play because you're a valuable resource for the prime aims, and destroying you runs contrary to the achievement of those prime aims. Where destruction does rarely occur, it is either as a collateral consequence of the narcissism misfiring, lesser or mid-range, or it was the intention of the narcissism, of the greater or the ultra, because they are able to bring about your destruction without any downside to themselves in terms of the loss of prime aims, because you can be substituted by somebody else. Do pay attention to what I've explained. Recognize that if you continue to think that the narcissist wants to destroy you, you might be in that very rare group where it's the actuality, but for the most part, it's because you are misunderstanding how we function, that you're swallowing the misinformation that's being provided by people who don't understand narcissism, that you're looking at matters out of context, and of course your emotional thinking wants you fearing this, because if you fear being destroyed, you're going to keep thinking about it and trying to do things to save yourself by placating and mollycoddling and trying to calm the narcissist down, etc., which means you're continuing to feed your addiction to the narcissist. The narcissist, in most instances, does not want to destroy you. You're much more valuable, kept in play, functioning, and of use to us. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening. You ought now to have understood that Meghan Markle's intention isn't to destroy Prince Harry. Far from it. Her narcissism will see that he serves a purpose. He can easily be controlled, as is being demonstrated at the current time. One only has to look back at the interview involving Oprah Winfrey for the instances where control was asserted over Prince Harry by physical touch, gesture, the interruption by Meghan Markle when he was speaking, as she asserted control over him. Those were just glimpses of the control that is being manifested against him. Furthermore, as I have explained in part 23 with regard to Prince Harry's behaviour, it is evident that the control is complete of him at this current time because he has swallowed the narcissist's narrative. Accordingly, Meghan Markle is not intending to destroy Prince Harry, far from it. Her narcissism wants to keep him in play because he's easy to control. He provides fuel and will provide lots of it. He will provide highly potent fuel from his position as the intimate partner primary source. He will provide lots of it because of the amount of time that they spend together. He will be providing both positive and negative fuel as he responds to her various benign and malign manipulations of him. She will, of course, acquire character traits from him and also very substantial residual benefits. The title of Duchess of Sussex, the connections that come with that, the esteem associated with being royalty, having married in. Although, of course, the hypocrisy is demonstrated whereby she wants all of the benefits on her terms without anything that shackles her to them, and she is quick to bite the hand that has fed her, but that is typical of the narcissist. If you are giving the narcissist what the narcissist wants and not affecting control, you're painted white, and the narcissist will take that all day long. But the moment that you either intentionally or inadvertently look to threaten the control of the narcissist by making them accountable for their behavior, telling them they can't do certain things, insisting that they do other things, this will affect the narcissist's sense of control, meaning the narcissist's narcissism will compel them to reject and nullify that threat to the control. Thus, where Meghan Markle feels that the royal family are impinging on her control generally and her control of Prince Harry, she turns against them. But she will, of course, be quite content, because of the compartmentalizing nature of a narcissist and the hypocrisy that is exhibited, to utilize the esteem and status associated with being a member of a royal family to her advantage, to control other people, to gain fuel from other people, to manage character traits from other people, and other residual benefits from those. The residual benefit of the facade is bolstered by her association with the royal family and, of course, the title of the Duchess of Sussex. There is, of course, monetary residual benefits that she will continue to obtain. Access to particular individuals. However, as time goes on, the impact of these residual benefits is likely to fade. And as she exerts her hold over him greater and greater, although she may not intend to bring about the destruction of Prince Harry, it may be as a collateral consequence of the effect of the narcissism that this is what occurs. Harry fits the profile of a codependent empath. His majority behaviour is that of a codependent, and therefore he unconsciously finds validation by being with a narcissist. It enables him to pour himself into the black hole of the narcissist. And in order to continue to appease, placate, and cater for Meghan Markle, he will continue to bow to her control. This has been evidenced so far. He's moved thousands of miles away from his extended family. He has moved away from his friends. He's moved to an environment which is ultimately unfamiliar to him, a different country, and a completely different way of thinking in the particular area of the United States that he now resides. Of course, he's well-travelled and used to that, but it's one thing to travel, it's another to base yourself there. And yet, his willingness to do so is demonstrative of the control that has been exhibited over him. Of course, he has done it supposedly willingly, believing that this is the appropriate thing to do to protect his family. And, of course, as I have explained elsewhere, he has been duped into believing that as a consequence of the control of the narcissist and his own emotional thinking. The control of the narcissist and his own emotional thinking not allowing to see what is actually going on, and, as is particularly evidenced by the line whereby he explained that he didn't realise he was trapped until Meghan Markle told him that he was, evidences the extent of the blindness that Prince Harry has with regard to the situation that he finds himself in, and the extent of the control that is being exhibited over him. He will continue to cling on to the relationship, compromising, backing down, giving way again and again in order to cater to what she wants. As he commented a couple of years ago, what Meghan wants, Meghan gets. And he will facilitate that by virtue of his codependent status. And the significant risk for him is that unless there is a different disengagement trigger that comes along, he may very well face a collateral consequence of his destruction by virtue of the way that he clings to the narcissist and the way that the narcissist, devoid of emotional empathy, will continue to extract those prime aims from him, grinding him down, wearing him out. As I have explained, despite what people may think, this is not a calculated step towards Prince Harry. Far from it. There is no intention to put him into a state of destruction. Because, as I have explained earlier, in a more generic setting, that is not the usual intention of a narcissist. You are worth far more to us in play, alive and functioning than you are broken and destroyed. As I have explained, some people are destroyed, and in rare cases that is the conscious intention of particular narcissists. In other instances, it is an unintended collateral consequence of the assertion of control. And that is where Prince Harry faces a risk. Meghan Markle is not consciously setting out to destroy him, but as a consequence of the pursuit of the prime aims and Harry's own codependency towards this narcissist, he may well very face a collateral unintended consequence of destruction. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.